Oh, we're live. Welcome to Romance Happy Hour.
Hey.
Hello.
I'm Dylann Crush. I am posing as Queen Elizabeth tonight.
I was gonna say you're not Dylann. You're the Queen.
I know.
Dylann is joining us.
I brought this back from London with me. I thought it would be funny since Dawn tried to pose as Fabio the last time I was on here. I thought that it would be fun to bring back Queen Elizabeth. So,
all right. Well,
then I'm red eyes though. It's kind of terrifying.
Well, I can't. Yeah, she is. I don't think you can see. Can you see my eyes through? No, nothing. All right. Really. Well, I'll take her off. I've made my point. No, we brought her home. My daughter thought it was hysterical, so we brought Queen Elizabeth home.
It's funny.
So, but welcome. We're here tonight. Dawn and I are here tonight with Delancey, Stewart, and Catherine Stine. Kate, did you see my Queen Elizabeth? Kate would appreciate Queen Elizabeth. She's from England. Yeah, we're glad you're joining us tonight. We are trying to be a bright spot in the dark days that are happening around the world right now. Yeah, I'm glad to be home. It's hard to believe on that 2 weeks ago you did the show all by yourself and I was across the pond. Isn't it hard to believe? So much has changed in the past 2 weeks. It's kind of crazy.
Yes, it was crazy. It went well, except for that little stressful moment of me wondering if there was going to be a sex scene read out loud. Other than that, small bit of stress, it went really well. Fabio did not show up then.
You did a great job. Yeah, you did a great job. So yeah, Dawn has this fancy green screen that she sometimes will put behind her, and so she can pretend to be in a vineyard or different places. And she had Fabio with her last time, so it was a running joke. But so Dawn, tell us a little bit about what you've been up to. You're getting a lot of writing done, I bet, at home with all of your children, right? We lost you. Can you guys hear Dawn? Mm-mm. Something happened with your screen, Dawn, and it moved out. All right, I'm gonna pop her out and back in and see if that works. Nope.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yes. Oh yes.
Okay.
I can hear you now.
Can you see me?
Yes, we can see you now.
Okay, sorry. No, I've been homeschooling my kids, so I'm kind of trying to get into a routine so that I can start writing again. I have a release in a couple of weeks, so I've been promoting that a little bit. And Sharon, can you not hear me still?
I know, that's what I'm wondering.
But you can hear me, right?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, hang on.
I can hear you.
Oh, they're saying they still can't hear you.
Okay. All right, let me do something.
I don't know.
But the comments are delayed by at least a minute, it looks like.
Yeah, they're delayed.
Okay.
All right.
So, okay, now they can hear me. Okay.
Dawn is back.
All right. Yeah, I'm not getting any writing done. I'm trying to get the whole homeschool thing. I have 4 kids to homeschool, so I'm trying to get that in order, and then my time kind of organized. But I have a release happening April 14th with the box set, the Romance on the Range box set, and then I'm kind of brainstorming with my agent right now and trying to get something going with her, and then I will be writing 2 books coming up. Big Sky or Montana Bound for my Western, and then book 2 of After High Heels and Cowboy Boots that releases next week, or next month. So a lot if I can get going.
Yes. Busy times.
But Dylann, you've got so much writing going on. I just you give me a headache and make me exhausted just listening to everything that you've got going on.
It's just because I have a tendency to overcommit and get myself into situations. So yeah, I'm busy. But no, I've slowed down, I think, this week. It's just been it's been interesting kind of getting into the groove with having everybody at home, and my husband is at home. And so, yeah, I did get the final episode of Betting on the Bartender posted to my Radish story. So I don't know if anybody reads on Radish, but I've got 2 books out there, and the second one is finishing up. And then I'm going to be pulling those. Well, I'll probably still leave them there, but then I'm going to be putting them into, like a full-length book and releasing those in the next couple months. And I've got a standalone that is coming out next month called All I Want to Do Is You. And I just got the cover back on that, and it's absolutely adorable. So I'm super excited. So I got to get the edits done on that.
So is that traditional or
It'll be an indie.
okay.
Yep. So, and then I just got final last chance proofs on my new series that's coming out in August, Tying the Knot in Texas. And that first book, it's called The Cowboy Says I Do. And, Siri thinks I'm talking to her. I don't know why my iPad just came on. So I get to take one final look at that. But as writers, like, you get an arc, like your publisher sends you the arc, and you get the box, like you get the arc and you get to look at it, and mine is stuck in New York. So my agent has a copy of the book. My editor has a copy of the book. Like, I don't have a copy of the book. So they keep posting pictures, and I'm like, yeah, it looks real pretty. So we'll see when I finally get to get my hands on that. I'll probably have to buy it by the time it comes out. So how about you, Delancey and Catherine? I think, Catherine, we'll have you introduce yourself first because you volunteered to read first. So why don't you introduce yourself, tell us what you write, and I guess where you're hunkering down right now.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm a hybrid author. I've written a fair amount of YA. I'm now mainly involved in historical fantasy, romantic historical fantasy. In particular, I'm finding my niche in witches, and I just but last year I launched I relaunched, I should say, a book, kind of older YA or general, a new twist on Dorian Gray with a female lead of Doriana, which is a very dark twist on Dorian Gray set in Coney Island. And so that was last year. And then I've just launched my second witch book, and I plan to do 3 set. This one is Witch of the Wild Beast, set in 1854, which is the one I'll be reading. Set in Philadelphia in the Eastern State Penitentiary. And my girl, Evelina Stowe, is an animal maid. She has a special. And because she was working for a really nasty farmer guy who was beating her, and her pet bird flew down his throat and choked him to death. So she was accused of witchcraft. Anyway, a lot of the book is sort of medical mischief. She's uncovering a lot of sort of medical bad. So anyway, it's kind of a love story to Philadelphia also, because I grew up there, and Eastern State Penitentiary is a very prison that is no longer open, but it's open for the most amazing Halloween funhouse ever. And I got this idea because I went there, and the operating room, the medical room with whole, was the creepiest thing in the world, and they didn't change it from when they closed the prison. So that was kind of where my idea came from. Anyway, she falls in love with a guy named Bertie, who's a Welsh man who's in prison also for, anyway. So where I'm hunkering down, I live in New York City, which obviously is the best place to be right now. So we fled we have a place in the Western Catskills. So we're hunkering down here. And just, beautiful up here. It's a little boring, but I'm glad. I'd rather
boring is good right now.
Yeah, boring is good.
Yeah.
Good right now. The dog is happy up here.
Get toilet paper.
Now, a couple questions,
What's
Catherine.
that?
Is it a
Yeah.
cabin or is it like a house, like a second house?
It's
Like,
a
do you have
house.
like a
It's
little
a house.
cabin? Oh, and then my
Yeah,
question
no, it's
for
a house.
your book that takes place on Coney Island, are you listening to or get inspiration from Love Never Dies, the sequel to Phantom of the Opera?
There's a
have
sequel.
not.
Yes.
What?
Yes, there is a sequel
have
to Phantom of the
not-
Opera, and it
Don't know anything about that. No.
and
I
it
mean, I
takes place
know,
on
I
Coney Island.
Coney
Yeah,
Island's
but
like
this
the
is one of
coolest
those,
place
like,
ever.
it's like a meme. How old were you when you found out there was a sequel to Phantom of the Opera?
46.
Today.
Oh,
Hey.
yeah, there's a sequel. It's called Love Never Dies, and it takes place on Coney Island.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Is anybody
I'll have to
watching? Did
check it
anybody
out.
else know that? Or is Dawn making this up? Somebody
No,
tell
I'm
us.
not.
Is this for real?
I got this from my the president of the first chapter, romance writers chapter that I ever went to. She is a Phantom of the Opera freak. Like, that's all. Like, she loves it. And I I love her. I adore her. She's also my first editor ever too. But and publisher. And but so she, when Love Never Dies was on Broadway in London, like, she went there just to see it. And I totally
Wow.
want to see it. Yeah. It's going around America right now, so I want to see it. Yep. Love Never
have
Dies,
seen
the
Phantom of the
sequel to
Opera.
Phantom of the Opera. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you like it
Good.
better than the Phantom of the Opera?
I haven't seen it. I
Actual-
listened to it. I don't know. I would have to see
okay.
it at the opera. I will say to our readers that my husband is a big Phantom of the Opera fan, and he takes me to the opera just to see that one. So yes, he loves it too. So, but yeah, it's good though. I mean, if I get it, if I write it, because I've only listened to it myself, but if I'm listening to it correctly, like, she and the Phantom finally get together. So I don't know. Like, I'll have to
pretty
read.
much
That
what
was years ago, but yeah. So off topic, Delancey.
Sorry. That's my specialty, off topic. So, I don't know if you saw Sylvie Stewart said Delancey Stewart has a wombat in her shirt.
I did.
This is the wombat. Right. There's always a wombat nearby. It's not always tiny. It's just small. But I do like wombats. And cheese.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Sorry for that. Let's get back to Catherine.
Well,
Do you want me to read a little excerpt, or you want
I
to
thought we'd
ask
have
me questions
Delancey
about it?
introduce
Or?
herself real quick.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry. I totally missed that.
Delancey, beyond the wombat in your shirt, tell us a little bit more about you. Yes. Is that all we need to know? Yes.
All you need to know. No, okay. Well, so I write some things. I guess I'm not a hybrid anymore. I have been traditionally published. I guess I still have an agent technically. But I've been indie for the last year solid, and that's my intention to go forward. So I currently write romantic comedy, of a rather silly stint. So the most recent, this last year I wrote the Mr. Match series, which was a matchmaker / pro soccer kind of silly series. And the thing I'm working on now is called Single Tree, which is set in a small town in Maryland, similar to the one in which I live. And I get off on silly humor and quirky characters and exotic taxidermy. So.
Exotic taxidermy. That
Excellent.
my
I like
interest here. Do you have some of this exotic taxidermy?
No, but that would be like my life's dream. I am desperately trying to get like a wombat or quokka. How do you say that? Or I don't know, a kangaroo, maybe. I like the Australian animals. So
Off topic. I once upon a time in a previous life was a pampered chef consultant, and I went to a woman's house who was going to have a party, and she ran a taxidermy studio. So it was super interesting. I walked in and there was a zebra, like a whole zebra. And of course I was, amazed. So she took me back to the building they had in back, and oh my gosh, I mean, it was strangely not as creepy as I thought it would be, but weird. I mean, there were all kinds of, they had like a woodchuck and I mean, squirrels and
there's a taxidermy studio in the book that's coming out next week, which is called Second Chance Spring. I fully embraced my taxidermy obsession in that book. So anyone
go ahead, Dylan.
Oh, I was just going to say, I actually have a taxidermist in my first book in the Tying the Knot in Texas series. She ends up being the florist. So
yes.
Yeah, it's
well, and caveat, we actually have no taxidermy in the house. I mean, it's an interest, not like I'm going to go find an animal and stuff it myself anytime soon. Although I do have a book that instructs me into how to do this that my husband gave me.
Interesting.
But I have an aunt who, like, she lives in Carmel, California. Do you know where Carmel is? So it's like a kind of fancy little enclave on the Monterey Peninsula. And she is a little bit crazy, but also like the smartest person I've ever met. And her house is regularly featured in like home review magazines and stuff. And she has a lot of taxidermy. So I am all about tasteful taxidermy.
Oh, tasteful.
Yeah.
I will say that as a growing up hunting and stuff, I am not a taxidermist, but I have been to plenty of taxidermy places. My dad, he worked for the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, so he knew a lot of taxidermists. But we went to one, and the behind the scenes is not so nice. I mean, we went to one where, like, we went in, and it was they just had some fresh bear hides,
fresh,
and I mean, I'm talking, there were ticks everywhere. There were ticks, so many ticks. And they were like crawling around the ground. And afterwards, I had to go and like check myself.
That's not something I would necessarily automatically think of.
Yeah, they were ticks.
They would have lots of ticks. This is so interesting. You never know what we're going to talk about on Romance Happy Hour.
No. Really. I mean, we've had some really strange conversations, but this is interesting. Top of the list, but we should probably get to the reading.
You think?
Highly recommend.
Nice.
All right.
Yeah, we're definitely more interested in this. I mean, I've scrolled it for a lifetime already.
That's true. Well, I think we decided before we went live that Catherine was going to read first. So, Catherine, do you want to kind of set the scene for us of what you're reading from, and we'll let you have the screen, and then we'll be back after you're done.
Okay. Keep heed to the time. I'm gonna read just like a very short clip from when Evelina Stowe, my Bertie Castell, the hero, Welsh who's gotten in trouble for granted for the railway, and he killed somebody in the process by mistake and got put in prison. And I just wanted to have you experience the first time that the two of them actually meet. They get taken out to do some gardening work in the prison yard. So, and then I'll skip to an excerpt when Evelina has on purpose made herself sick to get to the medical infirmary so she can scout around to see what kind of bad things the doctors are up to, because she's ascertained something is really not right in the prison. Okay. So, can thee work a garden? Asked Amity. This is the matron that comes to see her, the Quaker matron. Is thou good with a green thumb? I have, Miss Amity, to be sure. This brought on some laughter. The guards shut the clamor down at once. No outbursts, no chatter, nothing here but hard work, prisoners. You will toil to plant the food you will eat. You will get out of yourselves a privilege. One wrong step and it will be over, understand? The big guard with the black beard was looking pointedly at me. I turned my head to avoid his stare, and my eyes settled on a young man, maybe 19, who was tall and athletic, and gazing directly at me. His gray eyes that glowed were full of curiosity. So they're having to wear hoods, which is a real thing that the prisoners did back then. His stance was slightly stooped yet proud. His hands were large and expressive, with veins running over muscles, as if from regular manual labor. Odd how one could drink in every detail in seconds, even when one's vision was limited, especially when one's vision was limited, as if the seeing at these times was vital. Other eyes landed on brown and midnight black, yet none affected me like this one man's gaze. I felt a pull toward him of the likes on some ethereal plane. I knew the man already. Or was this a delusion from my time in isolation? Whatever the answer, I vowed I would talk to him. I was aware of his fast-pumping heart the same way I knew the soul of the wild beasts. So she's got a special connection with animals. Okay, now I'm going to skip to skip to when they're in the infirmary. Give me a sec here. I gotta scroll on my. Oh, I gave away I mailed out my last book that I had up here to a reader. So I have no real book up here. Okay. So she's gotten into the infirmary. She tricked her way in, and she doesn't actually in there. This is after they've talked to each other a few times over the gardening stuff. How badly are you injured? Did they break your arm? I asked. My arm swelled up like a ripe watermelon, it is. They kicked the ribs pretty good, but I'll survive. You, Evelina, how fare you? I hesitated. Who knew if Dr. Shakespeare still hovered behind the door to blurt everything out? Not yet. Yet the low, caring timbre of Bertie's voice soothed me. I must have eaten something that disagreed with me, I said. Dr. Dowdrick's potion actually helped. Did you swallow any? I was eager to get Bertie's honest reactions to Dr. Dowdrick and his medicines. Huh. No, that prissy clothes horse yard. I wouldn't give... it skipped ahead. I was bottles of liquids. For all we know, Fairy Eva, they would poison you. My cheeks heated at Bertie's unprompted use of my familiar name. And calling me fair, I wanted to waft through the bars like a freed spirit to kiss his bruised limbs until they knitted whole. Perhaps Bertie was testing Dr. Shakespeare in his own way. By saying something provocative about Dowdrick, he could eavesdropping by any sudden surprised reaction. But there was no rustle, no gasp from behind the door. Sometime, I breathed in the odor of stale urine and mildew and damp stone, and the particular sense of the medicines, a pinch of spearmint, sweet rum, and a sour, sharp medicinal tang that stung the nostrils. The chill from the dank walls seeped through the thin. I sensed Bertie's ears pricked to the air for sounds as mine were. We heard nothing but Sam Barton's labored snores. There was another there and another holding cell. I took Bertie's statement as a signal it was safe to talk. Miraculous after time in solitary cells, ticking off hours, days, and weeks. Thank you for defending me in the terribly guilty, though. You paid such a high price for tossing that dirt at Dr. Dowdrick. Don't trouble yourself with guilt. It was my decision to get myself in hot water. A fine fix there for the prickly fashion plate and his embroidered clothes. We erupted and followed by a long groan from Bertie. Ouch, the ribs. Laughter is treachery for bruised bones. Oh, Bertie, I apologize. Never you mind, love. Love? Was that a figure of speech? My face flushed hot. I was relieved he couldn't see me as well in this dark. I saw him as a blurry outline of a... What's wrong with Sam? I asked. Have you spoken to him? Aye, a tad. He claimed he wasn't sick and wasn't sure why they'd even taken him here. They gave him a dose of Daldrick's tonic just before you arrived. When you were being examined, he blacked out proper. A quiver passed through me. Did the doctors have designs on Sam, too? Was it only Dr. Daldrick, or was Shakespeare getting a fair share of the rewards? He'd seemed so kind and mild-mannered. Dare I tell Bertie about Dolly Rouge? If I didn't confide in Bertie now, when would I have the chance? By tomorrow, we in separate walls. I heard a shuffling, a groan, and a squeaking of bed springs. Then Bertie's fingers were touching mine through the bars. I breathed in a stunned gasp. White lightning into so many times I'd imagined this, how our hands might reach for each other across the wooden planter, cells some night and share a long embrace in the dark. Never would I've ever guessed it could be more than a fairy tale. Around each other, shocked delight rushed through me. Penny for your thoughts, he whispered, warm breath wafting upon my face. Thank you, Bertie, was all I could. Eva, I'm doing what compels me. You are a wonder to me, and I confess I'm drawn to you as well, though I never imagined we would get our chance to speak openly in a jailhouse infirmary, much less. We chuckled. He began to stroke my hand with his thumb. Tell me the important things, the essentials, for our time may only last for minutes. What happened to you? Who and what is glared at you as if he wanted to kill you right there in the... I plunged in, Shakespeare or no Shakespeare. I must tell you, Bertie, Dr. Daldrick is even worse than you can imagine. How so? I told him what happened at Conklin done to my brother. Bertie gripped my hand harder. I said that Daldrick had hurt Dolly Rouge, too. She was taken out of Cherry Hill Prison for over a week and came back with stitched-up wounds on her arm that she has no memory of getting. She lives next to me in the jail. She was the tall he spoke to in the yard. The one, remember? Heavens, yes, Eva, I remember her. What is this day? Bertie sucked in air. With you? Surely he wants revenge for me stabbing him, for leaving him dead after he strangled my brother. I decided to tell Bertie a newly forming idea. I'm fixing to contact him, Bertie. I'm planning to pull the wool over his eyes. How's that, Eva? That sounds quite rich. Bertie loosened his grip on my hand. In the dark, I imagined there was a wall of ears all raised to hear my confessions. Shakespeare was listening after all. What if he was a strict? Trust me, Bertie, I will reveal all soon. It's not safe to tell it now. Answer me this. What is the number on your prison door and on Sam's and fair-haired boy Luedecke, convicted of horse thievery? What number cell is he in? My brother was a friend of his. If anything happens to him, I'd never forgive myself for letting another danger. And then Bertie tells her the numbers. I'm not here for the incident with Daldrick at Conklin's Taylor. No, for a later event at Somerset Farms. The owner drove my pet bird to frenzy when he destroyed my birds' houses and beat me. My bird flew down his throat and choked him. My word, Eva, how is this your fault? It's a mystery, Bertie. I never touched the dreadful tyrant. I never spoke a charm or incantation. Eva, your tribulation. I'm sorry you suffered so. Perhaps we'll be freed at the same time. And then she asked him what his crime is. The dynamite I set off while working the railroad injured a dozen workers and killed one. I was beside myself with guilt, though. I was also badly injured. Accidents happen, Bertie, tragic ones. Your feet. Aye, the one worse than the other. If we ever get out of here, we can... Such a lovely thought, I'm afraid. To fix my mangled limbs would take a bloody miracle. And who would do it, sweet Eva? Bertie was making me swoon. His low voice was soothing and enticing all at once. Was calling me fair and Eva and sweet simply the Welsh way? I struggled for a believable way of telling him I could make animals do things. Quite the mystery I'd claimed. But it would sound frightening, demonic even. Precise wording was such a difficult task. I had only gone to school in my early years. Bertie? Yes, love. Holy Mother of God, he was saying love again. Suddenly I forgot everything I meant. I strained to recall. It's just a little bit more. Bertie, I have mice in my cell. Oh my, we'll need to get you a ferocious alley cat. No, Bertie, I like these mice. They're my friends. He laughed at this. I've heard it all. Your friends. Next you'll be telling with them and shelled. He gave my hand a reassuring squeeze. No, but I can give them tasks. They work for me. And if I'm truly honest, I suspect I did have an influence on my pet bird back at. I simply didn't know it then. He felt inspiration. Eva, you're having fever visions. Birdie, I know it sounds highly unusual, but I have a way with wild beasts. You saw those birds in the courtyard flock to me. I did, but you saw the insect's trousers. You're telling me you did that? He let out a snort that rivaled. This was going badly. How can I make him understand? Birdie, if you see a bit of paper in his snout, don't kill him or throw him out. It's likely a message from me. And Birdie, will you give it a piece of fabric or something from you to take back to me and ground a scent to? That way I can be. At this, Birdie let go of my hand and fell silent. Had I deeply troubled him as I'd done with Dolly? Now neither would speak to me. Fear rattled allies. I had known this from the very first night in here in this stinking place. Their allies, I would perish. Plus, I would never again hear Birdie utter his sweet words to me. Did I offend you? I'm thinking, Eva. I'll stop here because I know I've probably used up my time. It goes on.
No, that was great.
Good.
And there you have it.
So, what year exactly does this take place? Did you say that?
Say
already?
what? Oh,
what year?
1850.
Yeah.
1850 Victorian prison romance.
Okay.
With an animal mage and a Welsh miner who trying to get over on these doctors. And if they don't, they will be hung. There you have it.
So we do have a couple questions. Do you work part-time or full-time?
I'm assuming she means
you mean writing or
on writing?
Writing, yeah.
I work part-time in writing, and I also teach creative writing at an art college part-time. So I'm a little bit of this, a little bit of that, but I try to get as much as I can because I'm very into it and serious. Yeah, it's my series for sure. So I've done 2 wish books, Witch of the Cards, which was set in the Jersey Shore. I have a thing about like creepy beach towns. Set in 1854 in Philly. And the next one I'm trying to scout around. I think it's going to be set in the West. Which of the wedding or other?
I love
I'm trying to brainstorm.
My dream is to write a witch. I think witches are fantastic.
I love witches. I mean, I think I was like inspired by what was that? There's some awesome line, The Witch in the Wardrobe when I was little, and my witches are not demonic. They are misunderstood wise women is what that balance. They're never they're never evil. Well,
I love
she
that.
was an evil witch. She was battling the good witch. So
Yeah. Where on the Jersey Shore?
Asbury Park.
Okay. I lived in Cape May.
Oh, okay. That's further down. That's the.
Oh, okay.
And
so you're going up.
Yeah, it's about an hour and a half north of there. It's about Asbury Park is there's let's see, there's Asbury Park, then Ocean Grove. So it's not that it's about an hour and a half from New York. So it's many years, and it's got a very interesting past. When we first started going there, it was really dilapidated and creepy. There had been race riots in the 60s, and everybody had run.
Oh.
Now it's it has a very interesting history, and I always famous in this book in The Witch of Wild Beast is Thomas Mutter is in there. Is a very famous plastic surgeon from Philadelphia, the Mutter Museum, who was a big prison reform guy, and he actually wrote a scathing treatise on the Eastern State Penitentiary for real book. And then in Witch of the Cards, Bela Lugosi is in there. Dolly is a really cool character that goes on a cruise with one of my hero guys, and Elsa Schiaparelli and Irene Ware. So there's some movie stars, there's some artists.
I will say, like, the Jersey Shore is, in general, is pretty big for like history. I mean, I guess you said it was really big in what, the 60s there, but like Wildwood,
Well, yeah.
like the 50s was all about Wildwood and everything, and they still.
Oh yeah.
My husband and I stayed at a place called Summer Nights Bed and Breakfast in Wildwood, and it was all 50s themed, and because they just kept going back to that when it was the hot spot.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. Jersey's kind of.
I remember, like, Jersey's cool. I mean, they used to do like the Steel Pier, like they had TV shows on there, and then like they had, I guess in my grandmother's time or something, they had like big fashion show to get dressed up to go on the boardwalk, and I don't know. There's a lot of really interesting history about the beach town. I love the beach towns. I love the beach. That's my thing. So, yeah.
Well, Karen has a question. Have you ever changed the name of your character after beginning a story?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's changes. I have to I'm really serious about names. It has to be exactly right. It has to really fit the character. Evelina is actually the name of one of my great ancestors. It was like the coolest Victorian name. Birdie had to be Birdie because he was injured and he has a funny way of walking. So yeah, the name has to absolutely fit the character or it's not going to work. And yeah, so it changes. I mean, finally I figured out, but for sure. Yeah.
And then what genre is on your wish list to write about someday?
Well, I'm actually working on a romantic suspense series. I had a pen name. I was writing some romance. My pen name was Kitsy Clare. And then writing this series set in contemporary LA. And mentors at the time was like, you can't use that name, Kitsy Clare. You cannot suspense. That will not work. It sounds like rom-com or something. So I think, and I not use Catherine Stine either because it's very steamy. So, but so anyway, I've written book one of that. Also, I have a few books ready to launch, which is temporary. So I'm writing romance, more into it. But I'm still struggling as to whether use my regular name or a pen name for that. I think I need to have a pen name for that. And I've actually written some middle grade for American Girl, which will, if any middle grade girl stumbles onto that stuff, they will have a heart attack. Not a heart attack, but like I can't do that, right? So yeah, that's not going to work. Yeah, so I'm really
separate.
Put a little space between those.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
so
my American Girl. And it's about who babysit at a dog daycare thing. So that's like that is just not.
It's not steamy.
How many pen names do you have?
Well, I mean, at the moment, because I'm pulling my Kitsy Clare books. I'm gonna.
Yeah.
I have to sort of have one pen name, which is it's gonna be secret for the moment. I think I know what it is, but I'm gonna just do getting a lot of material and then I'm gonna launch it. So I don't really want to say yet because I'm not really, speaking of changing names, I'm not totally sure that I will go with that name, although I'm pretty sure. So I'm just going with Catherine Stine at the moment, and maybe by next year I'll have a secret pen.
Yeah, if she tells you, Dawn, you'll end up like buried at the Jersey Shore. So
yeah, those New Yorkers, they can be feisty.
Yes,
Can I go on a tangent
to the another creepy What's
I
that?
have questions for Catherine that are tangential. Would that be okay?
Okay. Sure.
Where do you live in the city, Catherine?
I live in downtown Manhattan, where the same neighborhoods are. There's no skyscrapers there. There's no like corporations.
Where?
It's in a Stuyvesant. Well, it's near Stuyvesant. It's near Gramercy. It's very
I lived in New York
civil, and I have a car. What's that?
In my 20s, I lived in New York City on West 15th Street. So I love New York City stories. Everything about it just charms me.
I gotta say, I am very, very afraid of New York City.
No.
I'm a country girl,
Really?
born and bred, and I went there this summer with my daughter, and we wouldn't even go out of the hotel. Like,
No.
she's like, I have my jabbing pen ready, Mom.
Well, you know,
She was
New
afraid
York
to
is
get caught.
very, very. Listen, New York is very safe. I moved there many years ago when it wasn't so safe, and I lived in Alphabet City, and it wasn't. It was pretty, like, it was much more edgy, graffiti, and now it's like very, very safe. I have a car there, and people from I love to drive in Manhattan, and like people, what are you like? Yeah, it's like driving and taking obstacles.
That's crazy.
But anyway, I'm serious.
Well,
Well, you have to know somebody. What's that?
Sorry, I have a second total tangent. I think you would enjoy the Book of Speculation if you ever get a chance to read it or you're looking for something new. It's sort of magic-y. It's set in Long Island, Montauk area, but it's New York-y and it's magical. And
I'm ready down. Goodbye.
I cannot remember
I'll look
the
it up.
author.
I just wrote it down. Thank you. I'm always
Done
for
doing tangents. Sorry.
suggestions.
Well, and we've got to get to Delancey because I want to hear from
I was
you.
just gonna
I
say-
mean, we are pushing it on time. So, Delancey, what do you have for us tonight?
So I thought I would read from Happily Ever His, which is the first book in the Single Tree series, which is the small town in Maryland I was talking about. So the fourth book comes out Wednesday. So
All right.
I'll read a little bit about from the first book, which is a movie star. The first two books were actually meant to be a duet, and they are movie star meets regular person books. And the first one really kind of sets up Singletree, the small town, and the crazy pot smoking video game playing grandmother with the house chicken. And so I'm going to read you chapter 2, which is Tess, the woman who lives in Singletree, and her sister is a movie star. And her sister's coming home for her grandmother's 90th birthday party, and they're kind of setting up what's going to happen for the weekend of the birthday party.
Okay. We will leave you to it and we will come back after.
Okay. So I have the book, but I'm going to read on my screen because old eyes, the first chapter is Ryan's chapter. He is a movie star, and he has been sort of commandeered into a fake relationship with Juliet Manchester, who is also a movie star. She is Tess's sister. So this is Tess's chapter. Tess is our heroine for this book. So Ryan and Juliet, the sister, are journeying to Maryland for the birthday party. And this is Tess at home with her grandmother. She lives in a big old plantation house in southern Maryland. Similar, I don't live in a plantation house, but similar to where I live geographically. So how was the movie, my love? Gran swiveled her head to greet me as I came in and dropped my keys into the bowl on the table next to the door. I crossed the room, planted a kiss on her cheek, and slid into the chair across from hers with a sigh. Juliet's famous for her reason. I shrugged. I'd never get used to watching my big sister on the theater screen, but there was no question her star had risen and was continuing its meteoric upswing. The movie was cute and sappy and a little bit predictable, but it was good. Gran made a face, her nose wrinkling and her brows lowering behind her round glasses. Sounds about right. I wasn't about to tell Gran about the other video I'd seen Juliet in tonight, the one where Ryan McDonald was groping her breast in the airport. They're on their way to Maryland, and her sister is staging a relationship because she's trying to avoid a scandal. So Ryan McDonald is a movie star, and he is posing as her boyfriend as they journey to Maryland to attend this birthday party. So Gran was no prude. The opposite, really. Letting Gran in on that little nugget would only lead her to demanding I pull up the clip and play it for her. And then we'd be analyzing it, Gran critiquing Ryan's kissing prowess and speculating about his abilities in other areas. I wasn't up for it tonight. Personally, I thought it was a little much, especially considering my sister's divorce wasn't yet final. And because Ryan McDonald was my all-time movie star crush. And I was pretty sure I'd confessed that to Juliet before. She could have anyone she wanted. The whiny, jealous little sister part of me wondered why it had to be him. Gran clucked at my assessment of my sister's acting. I told her I'd go see one of her films when she gets to carry a gun and kick some ass. I grinned at her and sighed. She does mostly rom-coms, Gran. She had done one pretty serious film. It had gotten an Oscar nomination even, but most of Juliet's movies were light. Maybe it improved the plots if she had a gun in one of them. This comment was followed by a cackle and a snort. Or some kinky sex. I thought again about the airport grope video. If Gran wanted to see Juliet having sex, that was probably about as close as she'd get. Also, ew. I'll tell her you said so, I laughed. Gran never bothered to disguise her thoughts, no matter the topic. And she liked movies with explosions and sex. It was part of her charm. You better not tell her. Gran's faux angry expression changed to a quizzical look, her soft, wrinkled face softening beneath the trucker cap she wore pulled over her curly white hair. It said, "I'm fancy," on it. I had no idea where she'd gotten it. I still don't understand why you like going on your own to the show, Tess. Why not find a friend to go? What about Tony? He's always had a thing for you, hasn't he? Her eyes searched mine. Which is a really good reason not to go to a movie with him. Tony was a friend, nothing more. I thought she'd given up suggesting that movies were made for dates. In the small town where we lived, there weren't many prospects for me, and I wasn't really looking anyway. I like going alone. I don't feel any pressure to react a certain way, and I don't have to share snacks. I leaned my elbow on the arm of the chair, dropping my chin into my hand. I actually really like being alone. I guess that makes me weird. It makes you lonely. I sat up straight. Why? Are you lonely? She shook her head. I've got you, don't I? And don't forget Chessie. At the sound of her name, Gran's house chicken let out a squawk from the little dog bed at Gran's feet. I rolled my eyes at the chicken and then smiled at Gran. And I've got you. Tess, I hate to point out the obvious, but there's an expiration date on that deal. Gran was turning 90, but I didn't like her to remind me of her mortality. When she was gone, I definitely would feel alone. Since I'd moved back in to look out for her, she was kind of my world. Gran and my job. And I was fine with that. Though I guess that made me pretty unusual in the under 30 set. Most of the friends I'd had in school had moved north to DC or Baltimore, and most of those who'd stayed here had 2 or 3 kids by now. Don't talk like that, Gran. You're only 90. Not yet, I'm not, she reminded me. Not until Saturday. True. Well, I guess you can give Juliet your thoughts about her recent roles in person. She's on her way, according to the internet. Most people learned of family travel plans via email or text. My sister mentioned offhandedly that she would try to make a flight a week or so ago, sent a one-line email saying she was working on it yesterday, and then starred in a tabloid video at LAX confirming she was flying tonight. I miss that girl, Gran said in one of her fleeting sentimental moments. It will be nice to have her here for the party, I agreed, but my mind was turning around other questions, like, if that video was her on her way here, did that mean Ryan McDonald? Or did they bump into each other at the airport? Juliet was barely rid of her losery husband. It was hard to believe she'd have moved on already. Did anyone else call to RSVP? I asked Gran. And did the caterer call? Maybe. She lifted a shoulder and I stifled my irritation. Gran had a bad habit of pretending to be deaf when the phone rang. It wasn't that she couldn't hear it ring or that she didn't know how to answer it. She just preferred not to, especially if she was gaming. She also made a stink about the fact that we still had a house phone, telling me repeatedly how archaic it made us seem. She did everything on her smartphone and prided herself on how technologically ahead she was of the rest of the old folks she knew. Gran was her own woman, that was sure. She wasn't like any other almost 90 granny I knew, though I didn't know many. I frowned at her, her veiny thin hand resting on the enormous ball of her gaming mouse. Everything in front of her glowed in neon green or blue except the screen where her warrior elf was standing, shifting her cartoon weight and waiting for Gran to come back to the game. How long have you been online today, Gran? My grandmother turned toward me with a guilty expression before swinging her head back to the enormous screen before her. Not very long. I waited. She always confessed if I stayed quiet. What time did you go to work this morning? She asked, already sounding guilty. 9 o'clock. I'd gone off to teach my morning stand-up paddleboard yoga class on the bay and had been out most of the day since then. So, Gran drew out the word as if she was doing math in her head, figuring out how long she'd been playing World of Warcraft. So only since then. Gran! I stood up, trying to remember that as ridiculous as she could be, Gran was a grown-up, and I didn't need to lecture her about being irresponsible or lazy. Did you remember to eat? It was almost bedtime already. Another shrug. Oh my God, log off right now. I've got a guild raid in 10 minutes. I'll log off after. Gran, the last raid took 3 hours. Now you understand why I'm online for so long. She said this as if I'd just answered my own question and should now be fine with the fact she'd been playing Warcraft for 12 hours today. You remember what the doctor said last week? If it's getting in the way of you eating, you have to stop. She didn't reply. Gran. Still no answer. I didn't like to threaten her, but there had to be a limit to how much online gaming was healthy for an almost 90-year-old woman, right? I'll get the internet shut off. Tess. She turned in her chair and gave me a frank look, her blue eyes watery and pale, but clear and lucid as ever. It's my house. That's low. If you make some dinner, I promise to log off and eat with you, especially if you bring me a Manhattan first. I sighed. So what if my grandmother had a teensy gaming addiction and an affinity for rye whiskey? She was old. She'd earned it. I'll stop there. The next part is where the bodyguards for Juliet come to the door and there's chicken exploits.
I love that. I have an affinity for smart-ass grandmas. I lived with my grandma for a few years and we had a great relationship. She wasn't a gamer, but she had no problem putting you in your place when you needed it.
I love a smart-ass grandma.
Yep.
I didn't necessarily have one of my own, but I sort of wish I did.
My husband did. Okay, I'm about to tell a story.
Yeah.
All right.
Uh-oh.
My husband did.
We need to leave time for questions, Dawn, okay?
Oh, okay, I'll be quick. I loved her so much. But one time I was sitting at the table eating. It was my brother-in-law, my husband's grandma, and me. And she was old. I mean, she was like late 80s. And she turns to my brother-in-law and she says, "Boy, that Stephen likes some top heavy, doesn't he?" And I'm just like, "Oh my God."
She's talking about you?
Yes. I'm sitting right there. Yeah. I used to have bigger boobs, but I was like, oh, I love her to death. She's like, I thought she was quiet and she wasn't. I don't know.
No need to mince words when you've lived that long.
That's what I'm saying. Exactly.
Yeah. No.
Oh.
I wouldn't be that kind of woman, I think.
That was delightful.
It was cute.
And I know we're getting close on time. Are there any questions, Dawn?
There were a couple.
A couple.
Let's see, yeah. Have you ever thought about narrating your own story? Nice, easy flow to your voice.
I actually have narrated one of my own books. It's something that I'm excited about doing. And so I've done a lot of research and taken some classes in narration. Plus I narrate at my day job. We do online curriculum for Marines. And so my voice tells some Marines how to fly certain unmanned systems.
Oh, fun.
Wow.
And do you have a
impressive.
word count goal for each day you write?
Oh, I usually do. Yeah. I know because I do work a day job, I work about 30 hours a week, and then I've got 2 little boys at home. So I get up really early and I usually write from about 5 to about 6. And I know that if I know what I'm going to write, I can write about 1,000 words an hour. So my word count goal daily is about 1,500. I try to squeeze another 500 in somewhere in the day when I get home.
Girl, you're a woman from my own heart. That's what I have to do. It's like 5 a.m., whatever I can write between my kids.
Yeah.
Are your kids home from school?
Oh, they are now. Yeah.
Yeah. Are you doing that? Are you working from home?
Yeah. So because I have a day job and we're defense contractors, our jobs are essential. So we are continuing work, and that's great for income. But it's also complicated because in Maryland, the boys are home, but they have not sent home any work or anything. And all they have told us is that they're going to reevaluate on April 24th, whether they will continue to be home or go back to school. So until the end, in the meantime, I'm trying to sell a house. My husband is actually in Denver because we're moving across the country. He got a new job and we're very excited about it. But this has all come at a kind of complicated time.
I know how that is. Trust me. And my husband's military. So, hey, are you going to be able to keep your job when you move across the country, virtually? Yeah,
I think so.
So all I can picture is Delancey like reading things in, like a super sexy romance narrator voice, like grab the shifter and slide it into gear. Do you get to read stuff like that, or is it much more mechanical?
You mean at my day job?
Yeah. I'm just picturing like all these Marines, like, who's the chick with the sexy voice that's been talking to us?
No, but that was where I learned that I can read, like my brain is able to track ahead. So like a lot of people that narrate have a lot of mistakes and they have to go back and edit a lot. And I do okay with reading ahead. Like my brain is able to process what's coming next so that I talk slowly enough, I guess, that I can get to the next thing without messing up too much. So they like me because they don't have to do a lot of editing.
Nice.
I don't know if it's so much about my voice, but
and I live on a military base and it's a training center, the Army though. Yeah, my husband's in the Coast Guard.
My husband's a Marine.
Nice. Is that why you're moving to Colorado?
Well, so he's actually retired. He retired 2 years ago. So we're moving to Colorado.
What do the Marines do in Denver?
Delancey gets to pick where we live.
Yeah. Nice. My husband put in his retirement package, then they denied it.
Oh no.
So we're just kind of trying to play it by ear from now on. But yeah, we live on Fort Eustis and it's a training center for the Army. So when you say you're doing that, your voice acting for their training manuals for the Marines, all I can imagine is these little boys, because I know these guys here. I can't say boys; they're military men. So they're
9 years old. They're little boys.
Yeah, you just insulted the Army by calling them all little boys.
No, these ones are. I mean, my son is only 2 years away from joining the military.
I know, that's crazy.
So I see them all as little boys, but they do that. Like they take online classes where they listen, they come and get a cat card readers and everything, take these online classes. So I'm picturing all these Army guys like listening to your voice here. Saying, like Dylann said, like shifter.
Remove the propeller and like
shove it. Sorry. The nut.
Okay. We do have some more questions we got to get to.
All right, I'm sorry, moving right on.
1 minute. Okay. Let's see. How often do readers message you?
That sounds like a stalker question from Karen. I wouldn't answer that.
It was a stalker question.
I'm totally joking. We love Karen. We love Karen.
Karen, you can stalk me.
I'm teasing.
Do I answer it or not?
Sure. Yeah. Karen's relatively safe.
Now and then, I mean, I have a reader group that's super active, Delancey's Fancies, obviously. And so people, I mean, we all interact in there and people do private message me now and then, and I get some emails, but they're usually things like, hey, I found a typo.
Yeah.
And how many books are you planning on writing this year?
This year is a rough year because of the move and the pandemic.
Yeah.
So I have a series planned. I don't know if you know Marika Ray. We have a hashtag Delrica. We're like one person, really. And so we're going to co-write a series that we're intending to start publishing in the fall. The actual writing of that has not begun. So that would be 4 books starting, like, I don't know. We're not sure what to do about the election too. I've heard a lot of people talking about publishing during election months being complicated. And so I'm not sure, but that's a cowboy series. And so I know like Dawn and Dylan, you guys both write cowboy related things. So anyway, we should chat. But so I have 1 book coming out in April, and then I'm sort of republishing some books that need repackaging through the complicated months of moving and stuff. And then I think we'll have a new series coming out in the fall with Marie.
Nice.
Yeah. How many times do you go through your manuscript before it goes to an editor?
Well, so I run an editing house called Evident Inc.
In your spare time?
In all of my spare time. I have a partner there that does all of the developmental and story coaching. And I do the line editing, and then we have proofreaders that work for us as well. So I honestly, this is probably the wrong answer, but I'm just going to go ahead and be honest. I write pretty clean because I've been a tech editor in my other job most of my life. So I write pretty clean. And I edit my own work every day before I start writing the next thing. So honestly, my ARC team is my proofreading house, and my developmental editor is she finds the plot holes. So that's what I do.
So you edit and write 1,000 words in an hour?
Well, I don't edit them at the same time that I'm writing them. So what I do is I wake up in the morning before I'm like even awake. I make the coffee, I sit down, I do the writing. And that's only if I have looked at it the night before and I know what I'm going to write. And so I'll sit down at 5 o'clock. I'll do the writing. Usually 1,000 words is my minimum. And then that night before I go to bed, I will review what I wrote
and edit.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I was like, wow, you're really good. Like editing and writing at the same time.
No, I can't do that. But because in the morning, if you get up really early and write, like, Dawn.
Yes.
Your brain is not engaged. And that's part of the reason you can be creative, right? So I'll read it at night and be surprised, like, who wrote this?
Yeah.
Wow, that's really good. Or, oh my God, that's horrible.
Yeah.
And
depending on my coffee level.
Yeah, exactly. So that's when I edit. And then that also helps me figure out what I have to write the next day.
And one more question. How many books are you planning on releasing this year?
Again, this is such a weird year just because of the move and everything. But I normally release about 6 a year. I'm thinking 5, maybe. I've released one. Well, and so it's hard also because I'm republishing some existing books, and that doesn't really count, does it? I don't know. They're getting new covers. They're getting new editing. They're getting some stuff added. So are they new books? I don't know.
I think it counts. You still have to touch them multiple times.
Yeah. So it could be 6 or 7 books. I don't know. I need to talk to Marika.
We'll track her down for you.
Yeah.
So I am curious, you talked about house chickens. I was curious, do you or Catherine have any pets or unique pets? I hear your fascination with wombats and kangaroos.
And taxidermy.
Yeah. I guess I've been watching The Tiger King on Netflix. I don't know if you guys have watched that show yet.
My husband just texted me today and was like, you need to research this thing.
Oh, it's like, I mean, sometimes, they say like real life is stranger than fiction. And I mean, I'm going on, I think I watched I fell asleep during episode 3 last night. So I've only seen 2 full episodes, but.
I'm sorry what that is. So explain it.
It's interesting. So it's a Netflix, I guess it's like a documentary series about people who run these exotic animal, like sanctuaries and just kind of behind the scenes.
But isn't
So,
he also like a gay polygamist?
well, yes, but then there's the other guy that is not gay, that is supposedly a polygamist. And like the one I watched last night, one of the girls, I don't want to give it away, no spoilers, right? Because I'm sure everyone's going to tune in tonight now. But just some interesting behind the scenes information about how, the one woman that used to work there, how they, she was treated as an employee, and it's like kind of almost like a cult. Very interesting. There's different people around the country. Tiger King or Tiger Kings.
Tiger King.
It's on Netflix. But yeah, this one guy, he
just want
has
to say,
hundreds of tigers.
that's strange. I had to answer your question, but the most the oddest cat I've ever had was I had 2 potbelly pigs, one named Tulip and one named Thistle. So they
live in
they were
your
up
house?
in this they lived in a little pig barn. And they were sisters, and they were really interesting animals, but yeah, Vietnamese.
See, where I come from, potbelly pigs live in your house, and goats race you. Like when I grew up, we had a goat that used to wait till we got off the bus, and then we would race it. We would draw a line in the ground, sand, race it to the hay bales, and then race it back, and then it would jump on my mom's car, and that's the reason that we sold it.
The goat or the car?
The car. Yeah.
I'm not a big pig fan.
Right?
Uh-oh.
Oh, see, Dylan is a big pig fan, and so is
lying. Is lying that you're a big fan of pigs. Is there a story there?
Yeah.
Sounds like it.
But we're already so over time. Do you want to hear?
Oh, we are. But you know what? Really, we can keep going if you want to share your pig story.
Anyone that's in my fancies knows the pig story. But so I grew up in California, and when I went to college in LA, and then I moved to San Diego. And there was a point where I lived with a couple other women in a condo in Solana Beach, which is a lovely little northern enclave of San Diego. But one of the women, the one who owned the condo that we lived in, had a pot-bellied pig, who I imagine started small. By the time I moved in, his name was Hamlet. He was very, very, very large. Like I would say 200 pounds minimum. So Hamlet did not enjoy having roommates, and he owned the house as far as he was concerned. And so at about 4:00 every morning, he would go out and root around the yard, and that would wake me up. So that was my wake up call for the day. Hamlet being like in the yard, even if the windows were closed, like I could hear it. And then he would come trotting up the stairs, because her whole suite was downstairs. And then my roommate and I we had upstairs bedrooms. And I would go into the kitchen to get breakfast, and Hamlet would come up, and his entire, he lived to bite your Achilles tendon. That was all he wanted out of life. And so I would have to cook breakfast. I'd hop up on the counters and move around the kitchen on the countertops, because he was trying to kill me via my Achilles tendon. And then we would all try to watch, this was in the 90s. So we would all try to watch Melrose Place together, or there was one show on before that. Was it 90210 maybe?
Probably.
Yeah, I think it was 90210.
I'm that old. And Hamlet evidently really enjoyed these shows as well. So he would get up on the couch, and the rest of us would have to sit on the floor, because Hamlet would sit on the couch.
Jeez.
And so I didn't enjoy him. And when she wasn't there, he would literally try to kill me. He would wait outside my bedroom door, and when I would open it, he would be like, I hated him. And I'm not a fan of pigs. That's all.
That's funny.
Yeah, no, it's not funny.
That's
It's
kind of
Well,
frightening.
Dylan has a pig, a very, troublemaking pig in her book, one of her books.
Yeah, my Holiday Texas series has pig mascots at the Rambling Rose, which is the oldest honky tonk in Texas. But they're nice pigs. I mean, they cause trouble, but they never have tried to kill anyone by nipping off their Achilles tendon. So,
and they dress up for the
yes,
show, and
there's a pageant.
Well, so a lot of my books have sort of negligent or malicious pigs in them.
Ah, okay.
Which reflects my own view of pigs, I guess.
Yeah.
So now I can't wait to read
sharing.
now I can't wait to read your books just to see the pigs in them.
There's a lot of animals in my books. The latest one has a kangaroo.
Oh,
nice.
Is that because you want to stuff one and have one in your house?
It is actually a stuffed kangaroo. I would be happy to have a stuffed kangaroo. To like ship one to me, or
all right, we'll put a call out there and see if anyone has a spare stuffed kangaroo laying around. Delancey calls dibs.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be.
Thank you both. I know we did go over. I told you we'd go over. We always go over. We should stop just trying to say it's an hour-long show, and it's just. But it's good to have goals, Dawn. It's good to have goals.
Yeah, it's a little over an hour-long show.
Exactly. When you're budgeting your time. Thank you both for being with us. We really appreciate you coming on and sharing your work. And we've got your giveaways posted on the Romance Happy Hour page. So if anyone would like to enter, instructions are up on our giveaway post, and we'll keep those open through Sunday night. And I think that's it. I didn't look up who's coming on next, Dawn. So
I didn't either.
I don't think we've confirmed yet. So we'll get info posted on that for our show the second week of April. But yeah, thanks for joining us, and hopefully, everybody will get back to normal as soon as possible. But in the meantime, I think it's awesome to have books that can distract us and kind of lighten the experience and everything. So
definitely.
All right. Anything else, Dawn?
No.
All right. Then we'll see you next time.
Stay safe. Stay healthy.
Yep. You too. Enjoy all that nature up there in the Catskills. I feel like I haven't breathed fresh air for weeks. So get out and get some nature for us, Catherine.
Yeah.
All right. Goodbye, everybody.
I will. Bye.
All right. Bye.
Goodbye.